This is a tutorial on how to set up things on the laser cutter using AutoCAD. So we have a drawing here that we want to send to the laser cutter. First thing we need to do is plug the laser cutter into our laptop. So we just find the USB connection, plug it in. We have to turn on power to the laser cutter. Also need to turn on the filter system. So this is a system that will filter out dangerous fumes and such as we process this file. So to send this file to the laser cutter, we simply go to print. Do that again. So we go up here to file, print. You have to have the software installed on the laptop you're using. And to this laser cutter, the big red one, we are using the VLS 4.60/75 printer. Just hit use default settings. This tells you it's a 24 by 18 print size, which is what this is inside here. So that matches up. You want to, however, change a few settings. So you want to uncheck fit to paper. You want to change this scale to the very top numerical option of 1:1 so that it cuts it actual size. And over here, it's always a good idea to change this to extents. And it gives you a preview of where it's going to be. And then we just simply hit OK. Sending it to the printer. And then you have to come down here and open the software, which is this Universal Laser Systems Control Panel software. It's that little red icon right there. And this is our file. You want to always check and make sure the colors came through, as we talked about in class. This is an example of a cut line. An engraving line is the blue, and this is etching. So we're going to see all three examples in this one file. Now to move this around, so we don't want it way down there in the corner, there's a couple of tools. We want to relocate. So click that middle tool. Looks like a move icon. And we can just grab this and drag it wherever we want. So I'm going to place it up here in the top left corner. And we're going to get some material and get this ready to process. So here's a piece of acrylic that's been used already. I'm just going to flip it over. And we're going to place the acrylic in the top left corner. We do need to calibrate this machine. This is the calibration tool for the red laser cutter, this larger one. And what we need to do is move the laser over to the material. So to do that, we have to come over here and use this tool right here. It's called the Focus View tool. And we just want to click somewhere near where the part's going to be. And this will then move to that location. You can see a little red indicator. And we use this tool to calibrate the Z-axis, as it's called. So we use these Z up and down buttons. We'll just press it. And what's happening is the bed itself, it raises and lowers. So in this case, we want to go up. So I'm using the up arrow to bring this closer to the laser itself. And what you want to do is see that little notch in the back. We want to move that close to the tool where when we raise it up, that little notch will hit the edge of the laser unit itself, just like that. That calibrates the distance so that it's going to be the correct temperature and heat and distance away from the material itself. So you have to do that before you process your print job. Now, it's always a good idea to come over here, use the focus tool to click the top corner. Make sure you are within the parameters and borders of the material. So I click the top corner. I click down here near the lower opposite corner. Whoop. And then there I can see that we are within our parameters of where our part is. And if you want to ever change any settings, you can go right here to settings. There is a pre-built library of stuff. So we're going to go, because this is acrylic, we're going to go to plastic, acrylic, continuous cast acrylic. Down here, you need to specify the thickness of the actual material. This thickness is 1/4 inch. I've measured it with a ruler. So down here, we need to type 0.25. Oop, I have too many decimals there. 0.25. That's the material. We must hit apply in order for that to take set, and then OK. And I'm going to go back into that just to check a few things. I always do this a couple of times to make sure. Here are some options. If you ever wanted to, say, skip a process, like you want to skip the engraving or skip the cutting or skip the etching, they call it raster in here, but you can just click that and it'll bypass that process. Now what it's going to do is going to etch or raster first. Then it'll go do all the engraving features, and then it will do the cutting last. So it does it in order in which it's listed here. And you can adjust the intensity if you wanted to right here, just sliding this bar around. If you want it to be more affected in the etching process, we could just bump that up right there. There's also another way. If you go under manual control, this is a little more advanced. You can go in here and change the power, speed settings, and all that as well. I'm going to actually up the power for the etching to, I don't know, about 30%. In order for this to set, you always have to make sure you click the set button, and you'll see the changes take place. If you click more than one of these and manipulate any of these settings, it's going to change it for all of them. So be careful when you're doing this. I'm also going to slow down the etching process a little bit, just so that the laser stays on the material longer, which will give us a deeper cut and a little more dramatic effect. Now I'm going to hit set. I'm going to leave everything else the same. Hit apply. And OK. Now the reason I'm going here and changing these is just with experience. I've learned the default settings for the etching process doesn't always work the way you want it to. So you'll learn, take notes, put it in your notebook. And when you're ready, we've checked the location. We've calibrated it. You need to gently close the lid. And we simply hit the play button right there. And this will begin the process. So again, it does the etching process first. So you can see it there, beginning to remove that section of material. And that's the settings that we just manipulated. So again, it does that process first, and then it will do the engraving, which is the outline process. Then the final step is it will go back and cut the outer border that we've set up here. Now, if you're ever working with this and in the middle of the job, you lift this lid, it's going to cancel everything out. In some cases, you might want to do that. If it's too hot and it catches on fire, you start seeing flame coming up, you will want to lift that lid to cancel the job. Now, you can also notice it's kind of scorching the material around that triangle a little bit. It's because I have the temperature a little too hot right now. But for this example, this is okay because I'm just doing this for instructional purposes. But if you don't like that cloudiness, as you see up there, kind of the top angled edge on the clear part, you want to back the temperature down so it's not so hot that it clouds the clear part of the material. Again, this is acrylic that we're using. This is quite expensive material. So we don't want to waste it, and you want to learn to manipulate the software as much as possible so that you can do the best job that you can the first time and not waste material. So it's almost done with the etching process. And now it's going to go into the engraving process, which will be the other triangle. And notice this is letting you know kind of where it's at in the job. Now it's doing the engraving. And now it's going to do the cutting. And you'll see over here again, it's updating you as to where it is in the process. So it is now cutting through the material. Again, it does it in this order. Etching, engraving, cutting. Does it in that order every single time. And will be just a few more seconds here, and this will be a completed job. And we'll be able to see our finished part. So we're almost there. That's done. You can lift the lid. Most of the time it's not hot, so you can go ahead and touch it. And there is your finished part. You see there some of the milkiness around. Some of that wipes off. Some of it may not. Hopefully it'll wipe off. But if it doesn't wipe off, it means your laser was too hot and it's going to affect the material. So you can wash these, clean them with a rag, soap in water, a wipe. But it does a nice job. And there's an example of all three processes of, again, etching. This is engraving, and this is cutting. There you go.